Welcome back to the Bullpen Show. I'm your host, Austin Alexander. Very fortunate you've been able to join us for our 53rd episode. Today, we're very glad to have Geoffrey Gilbert. Geoffrey Gilbert hails from Bishop, England. He played at Clemson, and he's now in the New York Yankees organization. Geoffrey, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, my man. Doing well. Sitting here in Binghamton, New York, and ready to finish up the week here and get ready for the next couple weeks we have in our season.
Well, as many of you know who join this show frequently, one of the things we start with each time is the Palmetto Pros. Gives us an opportunity to talk about guys that hail from South Carolina and going on and are playing professional baseball, whether it be at the minor league level or the major league ranks. Last week, Geoffrey was one of those guys that we were able to mention, and pleased and excited to be able to announce that he had received a promotion with the New York Yankees from the high A team to the double A group that he's playing with now. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about his career and what makes him tick and why he's with us today. One of the things I want to hit on real quick, the fall showcase information is now out. That's going to be November 1st at River Bluff High School. Geoffrey used to be a participant in that before he committed to the Tigers. Those are one of the things that he did to get identified early on. You can too. So if you or your child are interested in that, November 1st, all that information is on thediamondprospects.com. That's our fall showcase, November 1. And if you kept up with, and a lot of you guys are participants in our fall leagues, that's cranked up already in the Rock Hill area. The Greater Rock Hill League started on Tuesday night with a doubleheader. They've been playing both Wednesday and will again on Thursday night. The other leagues will be showing up here starting next week or the following week. So all that information is going to be on our website throughout the fall. We'll have a lot of information coming either on our social media sites or on the website itself with everything we're able to catch up with. And Geoffrey, before we get into your playing career, you weren't able to help us out last year in the Low Country because you were rehabbing and the Yankees were keeping you down in the extended part of what you had to do during our fall leagues. But prior to that, the last couple of years, when you'd spend your off seasons helping us out, if you could kind of take us a little bit through what it was like to work our events, or well, let me go back to be in our events, both in the Palmetto Games, Pro Day, some of our open showcases. And then, of course, you came back and have helped us work some events, and you were covering some fall league games for us. If you could touch on your DP experience long before you're playing pro baseball for money.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think when I first think of Diamond Prospects, I think back when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I was playing with East Coast Baseball Academy and Randy Carlson down in Charleston. And Randy introduced me to you and Diamond Prospects, and he was like, "Hey man, like go to this showcase." He goes, "Not only are you going to be able to play against a bunch of high school players in the state of South Carolina, you're also going to get like a true evaluation from Diamond Prospects. They're going to tell you what you're good at, what you're not good at. And you're also going to be able to just like see kind of where you stand amongst all of those guys." When I was in 7th or 8th grade, I decided, okay, let's do it, you know? And so I got to go there and it was exactly what I imagined. I was a 7th or 8th grader playing against 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And I got to get like a true evaluation. Then I was able to also get a player evaluation from you guys. And I think I kind of really took that thing to heart, that evaluation to heart. You guys told me what I was really good at, what I really wasn't good at, and what I needed to improve on. And I think that kind of just spearheaded the next couple years of my not only high school career, but also getting that commitment to Clemson to be able to go there and play college baseball, which is always what I wanted. Being able to go to Palmetto games was an incredible experience. I've obviously talked to you about this many times, just being able to be in front of so many college coaches, being able to play at one field where you're surrounded by every other really good baseball player in the state of South Carolina. I think that it's just an incredible event that you guys put on. It's incredibly organized as well as all your showcases. And it was one of the things that I remember about my early on in my high school career. And then, yeah, going to the fall league and being able to not only not be a participant, but being able to cover these guys, it really kind of allowed me to kind of take a step back and do a different part of the baseball specter that you may imagine, of evaluating players. It's something that eventually after I'm done playing, I want to go into, which is coaching or player evaluation, player development. It allowed me kind of be in that first kind of sector of that. And I was able to see a bunch of really good high school players. I was able to work with David Beckley down in Charleston, and he kind of was my little nudger of kind of information and kind of being able to do that stuff. But I was able to see a different side of baseball that I'd never been on before. And I think overall, when I think of Diamond Prospects, I think of just the state of South Carolina and baseball players. The state of South Carolina is one thing that's very important to me. being from there, and being able to connect with not only people there, but also baseball players there. And Diamond Prospects covers the state so well, and I truly believe that. And so being able to help you guys out, not only playing early on, but also then being able to evaluate and help you guys out from that side of it, I think it's one of those things to where I'm very gracious for you guys, and not only your patience with me, but also just your truth in evaluation, and also the ability to help me later on once I've gotten to this point in my career.
Well, Jeffrey, you've got a lifetime contract with DP. We appreciate the pockets of time when the Yankees have loaned you out to us here and there. We've certainly appreciated the fruits of you getting your feet wet in some different areas more than just the baseball when you take the rock on the bump. Let's talk a little bit about that. I appreciate that plug for DP, and it's been nice to know you certainly as a player growing up, and also on the other side of it from the pro end, but also have you a teammate at our events. But let's talk a little bit about really how we got to know each other, and how a lot of people know the name Geoffrey Gilbert. For just a refresh for those who may not know, Geoffrey basically accomplished everything you can at the high school level. 3-time player of the year at Bishop England High School, also won 3 state championships for the Bishops. Basically, every award that's garnered, I believe, is probably somewhere in a showcase for you back home. And of course, from there, that parlayed you into an opportunity to pitch at Clemson. We're going to talk a little bit more about being, a starter predominantly in high school and a two-way player, a very good two-way player at the high school level, to being not only, spot starts, but more or less coming out of the bullpen and finishing games for the Tigers. And of course, that's your role with the New York Yankees right now, working out of the bullpen as a left-handed reliever in the Yankees organization. So that's what you're doing now. You were drafted in the 13th round. You've gone through some injuries, and we're going to go over some of the things that you've had to persevere to get you back on the mound and get you there where you are now. So right now you're live in Binghamton, New York. You're on a road trip. You found a little place in the hotel to be able to nestle out a little bit of time for us. We just want to kind of talk a little bit about and listen to you talk about your career. So if you could kind of take us back really to high school when you first came on the scene for us. You mentioned you came to one of our events. That's how we heard about you, but we finally got a chance to see you. And of course, we had a front row seat for a lot of the things that you accomplished at the high school level. Take us back, and for a lot of the high school kids that are listening right now, that's a lot of our audience, as you know, kind of what your high school experience was like, and kind of take us through what it was like to be Geoffrey Gilbert for the Bishop England at that time.
Yeah, I think when I first think about my high school career, I think it was tough, but like I wouldn't really honestly want it any other way. I think when I think about people who kind of helped my high school career, I think about really two people. It's Mike Darnell, my high school coach, and Bill Collier, my high school assistant coach. Not only as high school coaches, but as role models for kind of spearheading not only the work ethic that I have now, but also kind of the person I am, along with obviously my parents who have done an incredible job. But early on in my high school career, Darnell and Collier took me in as a seventh grader at Blessed Sacrament School. I tried out, and the only thing I wanted to do was obviously play college professional baseball and win a lot at the high school level. And when I had heard of Bishop England growing up, going to Blessed Sacrament Catholic School, all I knew is that Bishop England won a lot of state championships in baseball, and they're pretty damn good at it. Obviously, going to Bishop England through 7th and 8th grade to play baseball, I eventually went there for high school, and I think it was very challenging early on. I think I was probably pretty immature as a 7th and 8th grader and ninth grader, not only physically and mentally, but also from a baseball perspective. And I think Darnell and Collier were very forthcoming of that, and being like, "Hey, we need you to not only mature as from a baseball perspective, but also for a mental and physical perspective as well." So I think I really just kind of hammered in all three of those aspects of my life, not only maturing physically and mentally, but also maturing from a baseball perspective. And I started to hammer down, like, okay, what do I need to do to get better? Not only to be able to have success, you need to throw the baseball hard as a pitcher. You also need to get in the weight room to get stronger, and you need to eat more. And I didn't have this crazy nutritionist. I didn't have this crazy strength coach. I didn't have anybody really telling me what to do besides my parents, Darnell and Collier. And I kept it pretty simple. And the only thing that I knew that I was going to do was work my tail off. Darnell, Collier, Coach Traeger, they put together a strength and conditioning program. Okay, well, the only thing I knew is every day that I showed up was an opportunity to get better. And so I showed up 6 days a week, took off Sundays, and went to church. And I started there. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to put on 10 pounds going in from 8th grade to ninth grade year. I think 8th grade year was very challenging for me because I got an opportunity to be on varsity and see kind of what I had and like the lowest hanging fruit of what I needed to do to be able to play as a ninth grader. Went into the ninth grade year, didn't play very much on varsity. I pitched a pretty good bit, but I was like, okay, what do I need to do going from ninth grade to 10th grade? It was right in front of me. I just needed to get stronger and I needed to get better. I needed to throw more strikes on the mound and I needed to be able to make more contact as a hitter. I trained it. Worked with a couple pitching coaches, and I trained to be able to do it. And it wasn't the secret to success of like, oh, I just threw hard as heck and I was able to get everybody out. Like I really had to go to work. I worked with a 9 pocket and I just worked on fastball command. And so throughout my high school career, it was just these things that I kept very simple, but I always made it attainable. And I think like the one thing that I've learned is every day that you show up is an opportunity to get better. If you don't show up, there's no chance you can get better. And I think that still proves fact today of every single day that I show up to the baseball field as an opportunity to get better and to improve. So I learned that early on in my high school career. And obviously we won state championships in 2017, 2018, and 2019, my sophomore, junior, and senior year. But I think the one thing that I personally learned throughout all those that I still carry today is just keeping things simple and being able to work hard at the simple things is something that is always going to remain true. I think you can have all this flashy stuff. I think you can buy all these gears and gadgets and everything, but if you don't have a good work ethic to be able to go and show up every single day, the days that you don't want to show up, I just truly think that it's never going to eventually come to fruition. So I think Darnell and Collier and Traeger throughout my high school career were really hard on me. I mean, I think that's something that some kids run from nowadays is being able to be more so coachable and being able to have a coach look at you dead in the eyes and say, hey, you're not good at this. You need to improve. And instead of being like, oh, no, I think I'm good at that with your ego and being egotistical, I think that some kids run from it nowadays. And my parents looked at me head on in a lot of evenings that I would come home and I'd be like, Mom, I'm sick of Coach Darnell. I'm sick of Coach Collier. I want to transfer. I want to do this. I want to leave. I don't want to be here. My mom and dad would look at me and be like, hey, you made a decision as a seventh grader that you were going to go to Bishop England High School. You're going to honor that decision. I really am very thankful that they made me do that because it could have been real easy for me to transfer somewhere else and just go find the easy way out. But what I truly needed, and honestly, what I think God wanted from me was to endure those grueling days, endure the coaching that I got from Coach Darnell, the long days where he had me pushing sleds because I was a knucklehead in school and I was getting detentions and stuff, you know, the days where I remember one scrimmage where he told me that I wasn't ever going to be a really good, successful pitcher because I didn't have a changeup. And I was like, and I just did one of those. And he said, yep, that can get you running pulls for the rest of the scrimmage. Well, that was my junior year. I think I had a pretty good junior year in high school, going 11-1 with a .4 ERA on the years. It wasn't really the long-term thing if Coach Darnell didn't want me to be successful or he wanted to just bash me down because he had this giant ego. All he wanted was for me to be successful long-term. And I think for me as a high school kid, at that point, I didn't see the long-term success that I may have. I just saw it right there in the short term of this guy's being just very difficult, for better lack of term, to deal with. But I think long term now, it's like I have an incredible relationship with Darnell Collier, and my parents and I still talk about it of how much they've done for my career, and I'm very thankful for those. So going on to my high school career and some, I think it was very tough and grueling. Everybody sees the state championships and stuff, but if it wasn't for those tough, grueling 6 years that I endured, along with some success, I don't think I'd be here today.
How about that? All that tough love all those years ago, 10 years later, you're on a podcast, realizing how much that tough love really propelled you to become the player that you are and continue to be all these years later. So that's pretty cool and a good cautionary tale to players that think they've got it all figured out when they're 15, 16, 17 years old. Sometimes that old
100%.
crusty guy that's just thorn in your side might have a little better perspective than you do. And this is a good example of that. Well, obviously that propelled you to a tremendous high school career. And I mentioned you won everything there was to win. But then it's time to go play, in the ACC against some of the best players in the country, and on a roster filled with a lot of other guys that weren't afraid to work hard too. So kind of talk about that transition from, because a lot of guys right now are making their decision between they're still playing their high school seasons, but they're making decisions on their futures. Give them an idea of what it's going to be like, or at least it was for you, transitioning from a high school player to now you're a little bit higher level, and the expectations remain high, particularly where you went to school. what that transition was like for you.
Yeah, and I think before even getting on campus at Clemson, I think when I was looking at kind of where I wanted to go to college, I think that's a very important part of it and a part of my story. And when I looked at where I wanted to go to college and I had multiple options, I really do think that I fell in love with Clemson for a lot of things. And I think that it's very important that I stress those things that I fell in love with Clemson for. One, it was an incredible school and an incredible university. So I knew I was going to get a top 25 public university degree from that and a education from that university. So I think that's very important. I think the second thing is I fell in love with the campus. The campus is very small. In the for me, it seems like it's just in the middle of the mountains. This beautiful campus blows up. At 81,000 people packing into Death Valley. You got 8,000, 9,000 people packing into Doug Kingsmore Stadium. And people fall in love with that because it is a true small campus feel. So I fell in love with the university because of the education. I fell in love with the campus and then the coaching staff there. I fell in love with them. And Coach Monty Lee at Clemson at that point, he had everything that I wanted in a head coach. He was going to challenge me just like Coach Darnell was going to. He was going to give me opportunities, but he also wasn't just going to hand them to me. And I never really wanted to be handed anything, but I wanted a fair opportunity. And I felt like at Clemson, with the whole logistical process of guys that they bring in every single year, I think it gave me a true opportunity to go in there as a freshman and compete. And Coach C and Coach LaCroix, they stressed that to me from a recruiting perspective. And obviously, it was enough for me as a sophomore to say, again, this is where I want to go to school. I know I can't back out of this commitment to a school. Let's do it, and it gave me something to continue to work for over those 3 years that I had in high school of not only just going to college, but also trying to be able to continue to build over those 3 years to be able to go in there as a freshman and compete for a job, no matter what it was. So I think that was very important. Just knowing that when you're looking at schools and stuff like that, finding everything, not just committing to a school because it's somewhere to go play college baseball. I think it really does have to be a true fit of not only does it aspire to your educational aspirations long term, but also is the campus the right feel, and is the coaching staff going to provide you with everything that you want in a coaching staff? Are they going to challenge you, and are they going to give you a fair opportunity to compete day in and day out? So the Clemson fell in love. I fell in love with it from day one. And then obviously as I got there, I think it was everything that I expected in high school. I still had many areas that I needed to mature coming from high school. You obviously have a lot of success, and I don't think I was really prepared for any of the failure that was to come. So I think when I walked in there as a freshman, Coach Lee, Coach LaCroix, Coach C gave me an opportunity to compete, and I competed my tail off, and I got innings as a freshman. It was cut short due to COVID, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot from probably 2 or 3 or 4 guys that are pretty successful college careers, and now they're in professional baseball. Carson Spires, who's with the Cincinnati Reds, Bryce Teodosio, who's with the Angels, Spencer Strider, who's with the Atlanta Braves, and Sam Weatherly, who's with the Colorado Rockies organization. Those 4 guys I learned a lot from. They were role models for me. Again, just like Coach Darnell, just like Coach Lee challenged me every single day. Those guys were very tough on me. And I needed it at that point. I needed to mature, and I needed to learn pretty quickly if I was going to be a professional baseball player. So I learned a lot that freshman year from those guys, and I think it kind of just spearheaded what my college career was going to look like.
Geoffrey Wood, camp out a little bit on the transition from starter, from two-way guy to pitcher only, and from starter to reliever. Some of the things, some of the, I guess, pros and cons or difficulties, or just adjustments that you had to make in that sense.
Yeah, I tell everybody, especially when I was in high school, I was a reliever but a starter at heart, or I was a starter but a reliever at heart, and I think that kind of proved true when I got to college. Like, I tell people all the time, there's a difference between cockiness and confidence. There's a difference between being a hothead and being kind of controlled chaos. So, and I tell people all the time, like, you have to have confidence when you're coming out of the bullpen. You can't be a hothead, but you have to be just some sort of controlled chaos because it's chaotic situations. And when I was a starter, I was in high school, I was a hothead. I was confident as heck. And I think it just allowed me to kind of use those 6 innings of work and just shorten it within to 1 or 2 innings. You don't have to worry about the whole physical demands that starting has on you, even though it's once a week, it's 6, 7 innings and you're going to war. And a bullpen for me, it's It's very fun because I get to go in and I'm waiting, I'm watching the game and you're waiting and just kind of snooping out the situation and all of a sudden you get your call and you're not thinking about anything. The only thing that I'm seeing is I'm seeing red when I get the call out of the bullpen. And I think it's kind of proved true in college of like what really I wanted to do. Like I was 0 to 100 real quick. And I'm not talking fastball velocity by any means because I do not throw it that hard, but mentally it was very calm, cool, and collected. And then you get that call and your mind switches and you go to war pretty quickly. So I would say that the difference between starting and relieving is like for me, the mentality stays the same as much as the physical demands change. So I think a lot of the training, at least from what I've seen being in college and professional baseball, a lot of the training is different from college and college start or college relieving to what I did in high school as a starter. But for me, not much change mentally. And I think that was one of the things that I took with me, as I said, the end of the day, you got to go attack hitters in the strike zone. And for me, it was just taking that mentality of just doing it after inning after inning after inning as a starter in high school to like, okay, now we can just go balls to the wall for one outing and three outs, like give it every single thing we got. And I think that's fun about relieving is it's high leverage a lot of times that you get in there, high leverage, low leverage, whatever it is though. And you're just kind of 0 to 100, just going to war with those guys. Cause you know that the outs that you have are probably dire outs in that situation. So, yeah, I don't think much changes physically or mentally, but there's a lot of physical different changes that happen.
Well, you obviously were able to find that gas pedal at Clemson, and enough so that the Yankees took you in the 13th round and immediately put you in the bullpen as a reliever coming out, a left-handed come in, probably sometimes just to get lefties. I mean, those types of situations. But the adrenaline rush, I'm sure that you got in Clemson, you're able to get in pro parks too. Now, we want to get to a little bit more of that and talk about adjustments and the different levels that you've been able to go through. Once you got into pro ball, you experienced some injury, and you were mentioning to us, our prayers remain with you that you're able to finish this season healthy and on the roster and in ball games every other day. But take us through kind of the difficulties, both the physical part of it, but also the mental and the rehab that came with some of the injuries and setbacks that you experienced once you got into pro ball.
Yeah, I think it's for me, pro ball has been one of those things that at least this year, it's like health has been the priority. When I've got drafted, I was hurt my junior year in college. I was dealt with a shoulder injury I was out for probably 4 weeks and it just kind of lingered the rest of the year. Velocity dropped drastically. And it forced me to be effective just in the strike zone. It's hard to really compete your tail off with at least what I had when you have an 85, 86 mile an hour fastball. So when I got the very good opportunity, I mean, very thankful that I was able to get drafted. And all I knew what it was an opportunity. When I got drafted, it was like first thing I knew was rehab. We got to rehab the shoulder because 85, 86 in professional baseball at this time is not going to get you very far. So when I first got into professional baseball, I knew, okay, we got to rehab and we got to get back healthy. I was very lucky that the people here at the Yankees organization, they do an incredible job of not only rehabilitation, but also long-term strength and conditioning. And so what we worked on was just shoulder strength and conditioning. And then day by day, month by month, you started to see the velocity creep up. And probably about a year removed from that initial injury, about March of the year after in 2023, I started to see kind of the velo start to creep back. And then had a pretty full season in low A Tampa that first year in 23, and then dealt with an oblique injury here and there. So I still went on the IL in 23. So and then last year, it was like, okay, we get a full off season of health this year compared to the year before. Let's go to work. And we went to work, and I felt really confident coming into 2024. Fastball was jumping back to twos and threes where I needed it. Worked on a different changeup, worked on a slider. I felt really confident. And then you're a month into it, I think, and I threw 7 innings in the first 3.5 weeks. Gave up 1 hit in 7 innings, walked 2 guys, punched like 10, and I'm like, wow, we're about to go to work this year. And just like that, it's a snap of the finger, and you start feeling something in your elbow, and you're like, okay, I need a little bit of rest. Took a little bit of rest, and then you're like, okay, my elbow's still inflamed. I still got a little bit of inflammation in the elbow. It doesn't feel good. And so then we rehabbed it for 10 weeks or so, and then it was kind of a meeting where with Ahmad, Dr. Ahmad, and some of the people here, and it was like, okay, yeah, it's probably best we just go ahead and get surgery. So I ended up having an ulnar nerve transposition in my left elbow. And obviously, after 22 being on the IL and having dealing with shoulder, and then 23 being on the IL dealing with oblique, you're like, golly, this is the third year in a row I'm going on the IL. Not only is it for a couple weeks, it's for the whole season pretty much. So we can get into some of the stuff that I learned and stuff like that. But I mean, this year I think is very grateful for us so far, a full year health, and we've got about a month left, hopefully with playoffs and a championship run in. That it's really changed my perspective on not only the game of baseball, but also like where I'm at right now.
You had a great, basically first half plus in Hudson Valley. 3-0. I'm just going to read off the stats. 3-0 with a 2.55 ERA and 35 innings of work out of the pen, 51 Ks. So obviously your stuff was playing up. Now that you're healthy again, you're able to attack hitters with your full arsenal.
Hmm.
And obviously that earned you the promotion. Now, you've only been in Double A for a little less than 2 weeks. If you could kind of give folks an idea, a little bit of the difference between that bottleneck where all these guys in the organization are trying to get to Double A. Well, now you're there. What's the differences you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of differences. I think it's a higher level of baseball without a doubt. You go to low A and high A, and it's pretty comparable to each other of just like, hey, these are your strengths, and we're going to give you a fastball profile, and we're going to give you a changeup profile and slider, and we're going to tell you how to attack guys and where to throw it. And you go to your strengths 95% of the time, you're probably going to have some sort of success. And so far in Double A, at least like talking to some guys, I've had a couple of guys that have luckily to thrown here already, and one of them that's rehabbing that I've talked to a lot. And there's some drastic differences that I've recognized in probably the 2 outings that I've been here. And I think one of those is like guys are really good at hitting here. You have guys that are probably pretty close to either getting called up to AAA or the big leagues, and you have guys that are big time prospects that are just really good AA hitters. I think it goes from probably finding 1, 2, maybe 3 guys in a lineup in low A and high A that you got to kind of pick out, rather than here it's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys in a lineup. And so I think like from that perspective, there's change. It's a higher level of baseball. But for me, I think personally, and what I'm trying to accomplish, there's a lot of things that really don't change. Like no one's going to change the changeup that I throw now. It's no one's going to change the slider that I throw now, and no one's going to change the fastball. I can't all of a sudden snap up fingers, throw 95. So I still got to go to work and compete my tail off with what I have. And I think that's the biggest thing that I don't want to go that's unrecognized is nothing that I have changes, but obviously the hitters, and it's a higher level. And I think like I just have to do the things that I do really well to an even like nth degree. Obviously it's going to be even to a higher degree in AAA and even higher league in the big leagues, as you may know. But I think right now it's like I've learned a lot. And one of those things that I've learned is you got to be very meticulous about the way you go about things. Guys are hunting different pitches. Guys are seeing the ball a lot better. So it's one of those things to where for me, I still have to rely on my strengths, and not much changes from my perspective, but the level of play does change.
One of the things I knew about you from a very early age, obviously you were a very good player and you were a man among boys at the high school level and for to some degree at the college level too. Boy, the way pitching is now, I mean, stuff, you have to have stuff to be able to get where you are, period. But some of the things that set you apart, even at an early age, at the college level, and then certainly now, are things that you take great pride in. And those are things that I know you like to talk about and you believe give you a mental advantage, but also a physical advantage too. Talk about basically the scouting reports you have on hitters, kind of behind the scenes thing that don't have anything necessarily to do with throwing a baseball, but how you challenge yourself between your ears and prepare yourself, not only for, the upcoming season or the upcoming series, but also the hitters you may be facing. Give us an idea of kind of what you go through when we'll just call it the study hall of hitters, and basically tell folks about your black book.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that I pride myself on, and it's very important to me. And I think I started kind of this whole routine back in college with Corey Schaefer. He's our sports psychologist at Clemson at that time. Corey's an incredibly bright human being, and he genuinely helped me a lot. Kind of be able to go through what I call an after action review, an AAR. So I would go through AARs with Corey, and it really would just dumb down kind of you have the process oriented people and you have result oriented people. And I think the result oriented people kind of get weeded out because all they're looking for is instant success, instant gratification. You have the process oriented people, which is what I attain to be. you have this process that you build, day-to-day process, week-to-week process, month-to-month process of not only what you want to get better at and then, but kind of just the way you go about things, your routine and stuff. And being process oriented, especially at the ACC in college, is very important because for me, it's trying to make adjustments from Friday to Saturdays, Friday to Sunday if you throw. Now in professional baseball, you have a little bit more time than that because we're not throwing back-to-back days, but it remains the same. And I've taken kind of what I learned in college and the multiple failures that I had in sophomore and junior year, and I started to write them down in journal back then, and I think it's kind of gotten to be even more important since I've gotten into professional baseball. I remember a month into professional baseball, we had the very pleasure of sitting down with Zach Britton, who's a all-star reliever for the New York Yankees at the time, and he was rehabbing, and Chad Green, a reliever at the time, was rehabbing, and he sat down with the 2022 draft class that time, and we asked him, I said, what do you think the number one thing that you would do now that you wish you could do back then? And Zach Britton gave us a direct answer, and he said, I wish I wrote every single thing down that I did every single day. I wish I journaled my thoughts down. Because not only is it cool for him, he's much older than I am now, but he started pro ball very early on, and he would have a whole monologue of what he's done for 10, 15 years as a professional baseball player. And so it'd be really cool for him to look back on what he did 10 years ago and how much not only things have changed, but what he does differently now as he gets older, age and all of that. So I said, you know what? That's the one thing that that guy thinks he can do or he could have done. I'm going to do it. Same thing with Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter says in one of his documentaries that that was the one thing he would do as well. It's like there's something obviously that these guys would do. And it's like, okay, well, I'm at the start of my career. Like, not only did I do a little bit of this in college with Dr. Schaefer and the people at Clemson, but like, let's take it up a notch. And so I have this little black book, and I've had one since 2022. I go through a different one every single year, and I think it honestly is one of those things that saved me through my rehab process and stuff like that. I have notes on exercises and how I felt physically in the day-to-day process from rehab from last year. I have one from a healthy this year, this far. And I think it's one of those things that really does help me go through a day-to-day plan. And I'll kind of break it down in a simple part of not only how I go through my day-to-day plan and routine, but also how it kind of helps me when I go through attacking hitters and then after action. So when I go through my day-to-day routine, I kind of break it down. I write down the amount of throws that I make. So I see somehow of a correlation of workload that I'm doing. Whether it's plyos, weighted baseballs, or regular baseballs. I want to be able to see what I'm doing the day after I throw, 2 days after I throw, 3 days after I throw, and see if there's a correlation of like what I'm doing the day that I throw in a game and stuff. So I do plyos, weighted and baseballs and regular baseballs. I also write down the conditioning that I do for the day, what I did in the weight room, and what I do for arm care. So those are just the basic daily routine stuff that I do that I write down. Now, when I go into attacking hitters, I go into I go through a full lineup. And I think it's very important to note that a full lineup, there's so much information that you have at your fingertips. And I think it's very simple to understand that barring anything as a pitcher, you want to take your strengths over a hitter's weakness. And so for me, it's understanding, okay, what are my strengths against left-handed batters? What are my strengths against right-handed batters? And knowing that, barring anything, that I'm going to go with my strengths over a hitter's strengths any day of the week. But when I do that, I look at left-handed and right-handed hitters and I want to go through fastball location first. Where's the fastball lane? Is there any outlier? So for me against left-handers, and I want to, hopefully many guys that I'm facing are watching this, but for me, left-handers, I have one strength for a fastball lane. So I'm going to attack that strength. Now, is there an outlier, like a left-handed hitter that doesn't hit away fastballs really well or inside fastballs that might go away from my strength where I'm trying to attack a left-handed hitter? Then I go into same thing with right-handed hitters. Is there a strength, something, an outlier? Do they not hit up fastballs really well or in fastballs really well or away fastballs really well that goes away from what I do strength-wise? There's a giant outlier. I'm probably going to go with their weakness over my strength in that. But more times than not, my strength is a strength for a reason. So fastball location's number one when looking at hitters. Where am I going to attack it? Is there an outlier? Then I go into an 0-0 pitch. Okay. When I go through 0-0 pitches, more times than not, I mean, it's not a secret. You can look at how many 0-0 fastballs I've thrown on the year, and it's probably 80%. Because an 0-0 fastball, it's like if you look at the odds of guys getting a hit over 95 and an 0-0 count, it's not very high. So I'm going to take something that I do really well, which is fastballs in the strike zone. I'm going to use that, try to get 1 rather than 1-0 because we talk about it all the time. 1-1 is facing Mike Trout to facing one of the worst hitters of baseball. Like that's the difference. So obviously being 1 is in my favor. So fastballs are very important to me, but is again looking at, is there an outlier? Is it a right-handed hitter that attacks fastballs really well? Okay, well, if he attacks fastballs really well, probably don't want to throw an fastball. So that's when I'll look at, does it put him in a bucket where I want to go slider? Or does he just hit fastballs really well? Doesn't hit changeups really well. So it's going to give me a good opportunity to get a swing and miss in an count. Fastball location and are the first two things. Then I go into attack counts. Attack counts is any count except for 2 strikes. So what am I going to attack guys with? Do they hit breaking balls really well? Can I double up with fastball, the same thing that I did? Or can I go through, just go straight to changeup, especially against a righty? Changeup is my best pitch. Again, I'm not giving away any secrets here because they probably know that at this point with the percentages that they have, but it's like, okay, can I put myself in a position to go with my strengths as early as possible? So I go through fastball location, what I'm going to throw, what I'm going to throw an attack count, and lastly, what I'm going to put them away with a 2-strike count. And in 2-strike count, it's basically just comes down to execution for me. I think that's one thing that overall I've looked at this year and really taken to heart is not only getting to 2 strikes, but you have to execute. And execution in 2 strikes comes either below the zone or above the zone. You're really never going to see it. For me, in zone, if I'm in zone with 2 strikes, it's got to be right along the borders of the edge of the zone. So for me, a 2-strike execution is very dire. And what I'm doing, especially like putting away guys, because I'm not going to be a guy that just blows gas by guys. So again, like I think going through hitters, fastball location, attack counts, and 2 strikes, so much information, and I've shrunk it down. So then when I go in a game and I know I've got 3 batters, I can at least know, okay, what am I going to face them with? Where the fastball lane is, and then if there's any outliers for attack counts or 2 strikes, that goes away again from my strengths. Again, that's what I do when I face batters. And then after an outing, I think I dumbed it down. When I was in college, I did 3 things. I did what went well, what went bad, and what can I learn? And I think that really helped me simplify things then. And now I've kind of dumbed it even more down, but I've used what we have to offer and kind of what allows me to be able to continue to get better pretty quickly. I have a thoughts section, I have an execution section, and I have a plan. So what were my thoughts for the outing? What was I feeling mentally? Was I feeling physically? What did I feel out on the mound? Something like that. What did I feel like went really well or really bad? Thoughts. I keep it to like 4 to 5 bullet points. Then I have an execution section where I go through each batter of, obviously, was it an attack count or a 2-strike count? Did I execute the pitch where I needed to? Not really was I trying to go inside fastball and did I execute an inside fastball, but fastball and attack count should be in the strike zone. So more so, did I attack, okay, in the strike zone fastball, or did I just blow a fastball arm side or something? So I go through executions for each hitters and we'll watch back what I did against each hitter and every single pitch that I threw. So that's my execution that I do. And then just a plan, like a daily plan to get better. Was fastball location very bad? Do I need to work on throwing more fastballs in the zone? Did I not execute 2-strike sliders very well? Do I need to work on 2-strike sliders down in the zone? So I think like this notebook for me has become the kind of more so live and die. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how many people in professional baseball do it. And it's one of those things where it's probably an outlier from what other people do and what other people, but it's one thing that works for me. And again, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but overall it gives me a day to where what I did yesterday, I don't have to think about it. I just can go to work and and chop the tree. And then today, when I get ready to go to work, all I have to do is just look back what I did yesterday in this notebook, and we continue to progress pretty easily.
Jeffrey, that is an A to Z tutorial in pre, during, and post game preparation, and I guess wrap up following an outing. Any high school coach, any college coach, any parent of a father, any pitcher who's out there wanting to improve wherever your standing is in the game, I'm sitting here telling you right now, rewind that, listen to it, rewind it, and listen to it again. Jeffrey, that was outstanding stuff. You took us through basically the A to Z of what at least helps you and some helpful tips from guys that were ahead of you, and you heeded that advice. So I would say to anyone who's listening to this within earshot, I want to heed that advice. It could probably help you too. Next time we hang out, bring that black book or one of them. I want to thumb through there and pick your brain on some of the things, some of the notes you've written down about yourself. Outstanding. I appreciate you covering that ground. Very well done.
Absolutely.
All right. So right now, obviously, you're finishing off a season. When it's over, hopefully, you'll be able to get a little bit of a break, come back and hang out with us, and maybe cover some fall league games. But if you could kind of give us an idea of, I'd like to kind of go back even before high school, before we knew who Geoffrey Gilbert was. Probably a little dude running around that picked up a bat and a ball and a glove and liked it. Realized he might be pretty good at it. If you could kind of take us back to your childhood and give us an idea of where your love of the game came from.
Yeah, I love the game came from St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds in West Ashley, South Carolina. When I was 3 years old, I guess my parents were like, "Hey, we need to get this kid to do something," and so they signed me up for T-ball with. And funny enough, I was on a team with coached by Katie Brown, who is the wife of Adam Brown, who is the mother and father of Bryce Brown, Craig Brown, and Maddie Brown, who those guys have had some pretty good college baseball success as well. And Maddie's doing pretty good up in North Greenville now. Funny thing is, Maddie was the youngest one out of all of them. And he was the kid running around on the playground and all that at every single travel baseball tournament that we had when we were in 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U. So watching Maddie grow up now is really cool to watch. And the success that he's having right now is really cool. But yeah, so I grew up playing baseball and just like every other kid, just dreaming of crap. Well, what do I want to do when I grow up? It's like every single answer is, well, I want to be a professional baseball player. And I grew up on that St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds and long nights going from Blessed Sacrament School to right down the road and playing baseball with all these guys. And I think there's probably about 15 guys that I grew up playing with, going to school with. And I think we all grew up and we just kind of found a common love for the game. And it was really fun because all of those guys were very competitive. And I was very lucky to be around those guys for so long, from when I was about 3, 4, 5 to when I was 10, 11, 12. So, I mean, we played with the same group of kids from rec ball. We played against each other, then played with each other in West Ashley All-Stars and travel ball. And it really just gave me kind of a gauge, not only to have fun with some of your best friends, but also to be competitive because we were all trying to compete against each other. And yeah, I fell in love with the game from an early age. And I think that's a credit to my parents for just sticking with it. And eventually, when I got to 9 or 10, they said, we'll do just about anything, knowing that I was pretty decent at that time to kind of help you continue to progress. And my parents were great. I think the one thing that sometimes they don't think about is the fact that they think that they needed to be hands-on and stuff like that and do everything for me from a young age. And my parents didn't do much of that. They said, "Hey, we'll help you financially do whatever you need to do. We'll help you get from point A to point B because a 9-year-old can't drive a car, you know?" But they weren't going to force me to go hit extra baseballs. They weren't going to force me to go work on anything. They weren't going to like if I wanted to continue to get better, like they weren't going to force me to do it. Like I had to go say, "Hey, mom, I want to go to the batting cages. Hey, dad, let's go in the front yard and let's work on something." Like they wanted me to kind of spirit from inside personally and kind of find that love for the game. And I think that honestly helped me get to the point that I was at, as I wasn't forced to do anything like that. So when I got to 10, 11, 12 playing on the St. Andrews Rocks, like it became pretty competitive, especially in Charleston at that point. Like travel baseball was very competitive, and Coach Adam Brown, Coach Chip Searson, those guys, they really helped me continue to improve. And they were very smart. They didn't push me to physical limits or anything like that, to absurd pitch counts. Like they just said, "Hey, we want you to continue to get better, but we want you to be healthy." And that's one thing I'm thankful for those guys very much for. And then obviously, just growing up watching baseball, I mean, every single thing from 3 to when I was 12, 13, and before I got into high school and baseball and stuff. And some of your time runs out with what you can do, extracurricular activities. You have all this time as a kid and you just fall in love with the game. Funny enough, my dad was from Boston, born in Hingham, Massachusetts. So it was second nature for me to be a Boston Red Sox fan. So 2004 World Series, I'm sitting there 3, 4 years old watching it with my dad on the couch. Red Sox, David Ortiz is coming up when in the bottom of the ninth inning in a Yankees Red Sox rivalry game on Fox. You know, like I'm watching it on the TV, hoping David Ortiz sends one 450 feet. I grew up a big David Ortiz fan, and I think like the one thing with David Ortiz is the guy always had a smile on his face. I was a left-handed hitter, and being able to see a guy who was a left-handed hitter had such a powerful swing, have so much fun with the game. I think it's one of those things to where it taught me like how much fun I could have with the game. And I was good and I was competitive, don't get me wrong, but, like, I think the biggest thing that I did at such a young age, and thank goodness my parents didn't make it so serious, was I had fun. Like, I was with some of my best friends all the time, and we continue to find fun, go to pool parties, eat dinner all the time together, have sleepovers. Like, we had a blast when I was from point I started playing baseball till 10, 11, 12 years old before you get into high school. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I remember is just having fun with the game. And then obviously once you get into high school, it gets a lot more serious. Like it's a little bit more of a job with longer practices and you're going to school every day and it's a little bit more serious. But I'm just really glad that not only the people that I had with like Coach Adam Brown and these people that I played with St. Andrews Rocks and stuff, not only were they good at helping me continue to progress in my baseball game, but we had fun. And I think that that was the one thing that I remember about those early days was just the amount of fun that I had and not taking the game so serious from at such an early age.
Well, Jeffrey, you've mentioned a lot of names throughout your history as a young player, obviously through your high school career, college career, and so forth. I always like to do this as we kind of land the plane towards the end and just kind of throw it out there to you and give you the floor with shout outs. Just, any people that you really want to make sure they know, man, I really appreciate what you did for me.
Yeah, I think like when I look at my baseball career from the time up, there's been a lot of people. And I'm probably going to miss a couple people here and there. But when I look at my baseball career starting up, it was Coach Adam Brown and Coach Katie Brown and that family that really kind of helped me and guided me to having some sort of baseball success. I think when I get in kind of the middle stages, it was Chip Searson who was my coach for kind of that time being and in the middle stages and rec ball and stuff like that. And he not only pushed me and was very hard on me, but he was also kind of a role model for me too. And then I get into high school and it was Coach Darnell and Coach Collier that I mentioned plenty that pushed me and continued to kind of see more so of what I could become and continue to challenge me. And then college, it was plenty of coaches, obviously, like Coach Lee, Coach C, Coach LaCroix, but I really resonated with some of my teammates. And I had a bunch of teammates in Clemson that not only challenged me to become better, but they also were really good friends and really good guidances between Spencer, Sam, Bryce, Carson, Ryan Ammons, who's a left-handed pitcher in the Mets organization, challenged me. And really the big person who challenged me in college was Rick Franzblau. He was our strength and conditioning coach at Clemson. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what is due to that man. He saw me come in as a freshman, really good work ethic maybe, but probably a little bit immature. And especially when it came to the strength and conditioning facet, I didn't know as much as I know now. And he humbled me pretty quickly, to be honest with you, but I'm very grateful he did. And I don't really think, I mean, I really, we talk about physical health. I don't think I would still be playing the game of baseball if I continued to do the strength and conditioning programs that I was doing. And that's no knock on any of the ones I was doing before because they instilled that work ethic in me. But I mean, when you talk about long-term health of a baseball player, Rick knew how to attack it. And so from day one that I got on campus at Clemson, not only challenged me, but also told me like, hey, just try. And I built that trust with Rick over 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, I think I became a much wiser person in that strength and conditioning facet that has helped me with routines and stuff. So Rick's one person that I want to make sure he doesn't go unmentioned. And then professional baseball, I think there's a bunch of people that you get involved with and that are here to help you and guide you, not only from rehabbing and not only from a player development side, but there's multiple people that are able to help you. So I think like overall, over encompassing everything, you still rely on the people that you've relied on from day one. And my parents and my grandfather, three of the people that are very important to me. And those are the people that are never going to go away, you know? So they've been by your side through the worst days and the best days. And more so as people come in and out of your life as a professional and at this point in life, you kind of just stick on that small group of people that you can rely on. And more so than not, at least for me personally, those people have been there since day one, since I was a 3 year old, just swinging the bat at St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds in Charleston, South Carolina. So, but all in all, I think there's plenty of people within scouting organizations and diamond prospects and stuff that you can be grateful for your baseball career. And it's a collective effort all around. It never takes just one person to be able to get you going. It takes a whole boat of people to continue to drive that force. And God willing, I've been able to do this for this long, and hopefully I have many more careers to come. But at the day this game's taken away from you, you still fall back and you have those people, the people that you're very grateful for. And for me, I think there's many people that throughout my whole baseball career, I've been incredibly grateful for not only the time that they put into me, but the effort that they put into me.
You clearly had a lot of people be able to pour into you and shape and mold the young man that you were at that time, and of course the young man you are now, but also the love of the game and the passion, which has propelled you into the success that you've been able to have. And as much as that background and I guess foundation was for you, one of the things that I know about you is you like to pour right back into the game. The game's been good to you. You've had a lot of wonderful influences, and you've rattled off a bunch of them. And I'm sure there are a lot more that you could have gone down a much longer list. But one of the things that's important to you is giving back to the game. Something you've done the last couple off seasons that I'm aware of. I know you're going to do it again this year. I want to give you the floor again, just to kind of plug what you've got going on. Once your season has ended, hopefully you wrap up and you finish strong with the Yankees in Double A or wherever else they deem you to finish the season. But when it's over and you come back, tell folks what you got planned for the off season, how they may be able to benefit from that.
Yeah, I think when I first got drafted and you have a little bit more free time in the off season and stuff, you kind of figure out what you're going to do with that free time. And again, since I was a 3-year-old kid playing baseball, you always have these people that you look up to, and whether it's high school players when you're young, college players, and professional baseball players. And I think when I got a chance to be able to be drafted by the New York Yankees, it's an incredible opportunity to be a professional baseball player, and I just wanted to find a way to be able to give back and give an opportunity for young baseball players to be able to have a direct outlet and access to professional baseball players. I think we're always looked at to a certain extent as these people that are like untouchable, and we don't want to make great conversation, and we're just very short, and it's just, hey, sign this baseball and you leave and you never talk to this kid ever again. I wanted to create an outlet for young baseball players that want to be professional baseball players just like I was, especially in Charleston, South Carolina, to have this outlet where they could have a day or two to come talk to us, hang out with us, pick our brain on anything, and not only pick our brain, but have fun with the game of baseball and not take the game so serious. And so I started my own baseball camp in Charleston in the first year, and then it kind of has expanded to me starting a company, Coastal Baseball Company, that I am able to do lessons or clinics or anything out of baseball instruction wise. And one of the big things that I started last year that we're going to do this year again is the Day with Tigers and the Pros. And it's a 1-day event in Greenville, South Carolina that I can't wait for. It's at Floor Field, and very lucky for those people with the Greenville Drive to open up the field to us for a day. And it's a day to where we just cater to the kids. And it's obviously surrounded by my alma mater, Clemson University. And it's with probably 6, 7, 8 other guys that went to Clemson University and played baseball there. And I mean, we just go out there for a day and we want to open it up for these kids to come play baseball. I think that, especially for us in the Greenville and Clemson area, like these kids have seen us play in Tigers uniforms for 2, 3, 4 years. And you see us make these credible catches, make pitches and big moments and hit balls 425 feet. But again, you just get an autograph after the game and you put it on your mantle at home, and you're like, damn, that was a really cool day. And I want to give an opportunity for us to be more of the human side and be able to just be one-on-one with these kids and give them high fives and give them knuckles and learn their names and stuff. So, these kids see that it's not only obtainable, but we're also just human, just like they are. I think sometimes you get these guys that make so much money in our sport that are looked at as supernatural beings. And I've been around a bunch of them, and they're just normal human beings. So yeah, Tigers Day in the Pros, it'll be November 23rd at Floor Field this year, the day after Clemson Furman football game. So, and I think we'll have plenty of guys there. Ryan Ammons is one, Rocco Reed, Carson Spires, Bryce Teodosio, Will Taylor. These guys are going to come out, and we're just going to have a day to where we can be human and just play the game of baseball and have fun with all these young baseball players that'll be there. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's something that I've started and something that I've had an incredible amount of fun with since we started doing it.
Jeffrey, for those interested, how can they find information on that? How can they be able to get involved with you guys that day?
Yeah, they can go to coastalbaseballco.com. And there's an events and registrations tab at the top of that page, of that homepage, and they can click, and it should be pretty easy to register from there. And then obviously, if anybody has any questions, they can email me at coastalbaseballco@gmail.com or just direct message me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is, whatever you have access to. I love responding to people, especially young baseball players who have questions and stuff. So anybody who has questions or anything like that beyond just these camps and stuff, I would love to be able to help out.
Jeffrey, I've really enjoyed this. Has been the best hour of my month, the fastest hour of my month. We've been talking close to 60 minutes, and it has flown by.
Absolutely.
As much as I really enjoy talking to you and keeping up with you, and we chat a lot and keep up with each other pretty good over the course of the year. But I really appreciate you coming on and doing this for other people, to be able to get to know a different side of you, the human side of Geoffrey Gilbert, not just the player, but the guy who's behind the four seamers and the location and the outs and whatever it is that you accomplish on the baseball field, the person that you are and that you've become. Jeffrey, you're one of the good ones, man, and this has been a real good time for me personally, to be able to hang out with you. You're an easy guy to pull for. You always have been. It's been fun to watch you climb that ladder, and then, of course, when you've been knocked down, it didn't surprise me one bit when you would pick yourself right back up and hop back on that ladder and keep climbing. The sky really is the limit for you while you play, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish with your entire baseball and career and life. Jeffrey, I appreciate you coming on today. Any parting shots you got for folks out there?
No, no parting shots. Just I appreciate your work that you did for me, and not only the work that all of you and Corey and all the people at Diamond Prospects have done for all these guys in South Carolina. I think sometimes it might go a little bit unnoticed, but just know that you guys are doing such an incredible thing for not only youth baseball players, but especially for the state of South Carolina. So I appreciate the work that you guys have done, and look forward to the next time that we get to chat on here.
Well, thank you once again, Jeffrey. And for those of you guys who are listening, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Please check out Geoffrey Gilbert. Check out what he's got going on in November, what he's got going on in the next few weeks as he wraps up with the New York Yankees. Follow this guy's career. He's one of the good guys indeed. So, Jeffrey, thanks again for coming on. And for those of you, as we finish up, make sure you stay in tune to future podcasts that we have of the Bullpen Show, but also on the website, thediamondprospects.com. We're going to be seeing a lot of fall baseball. Looking forward to getting out there. And Jeffrey, hopefully, as you wrap up, finish off a strong campaign this year, hopefully we can put a radar gun in your hands and stopwatch, and you can get out and help us evaluate and try to find the next Geoffrey Gilbert, just trying to catch people's eyes. So, man, you're a good one, and I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you'll take the rock tonight and deal again. But thank you for coming on for us today. For those of you guys that are out there, we look forward to seeing you hopefully at the ballpark real soon. The Diamond Prospects will be covering all the information that we have, our social media sites, and hopefully we'll see you again at a ballpark and on the Bullpen Show in the future. Thanks for your time today.